Okay, so I'm going to do a little video with just a few examples of what foods to offer and what foods not to offer. And so, like I had said in the original video, baby led weaning is typically you just give them small portions. So you start with small portions, building up to their appetite. Of course, after breastfeeding, after bottle feeding, this is always complimentary. You would just give them small portions of what you are eating as a family. So like if you're having chicken and broccoli, you would just give them a piece of chicken and some of the cooked broccoli and let them navigate that meal. But if you're going to offer just like little bits and pieces, I always call it a salad plate. So like a plate of a few different things. Here are some options. So avocados, bananas. I'll post a picture after this on the sizes for cutting when it comes to, being as safe as you can be with choking. But typically you want things about the size of a finger. So if I were to cut this cucumber, I would probably, I would make sure it's washed, and I would probably peel it, but you don't necessarily have to. And I would probably cut this into 4. Okay, so cut in half and then cut a half again so that it's nice and long. And, with things that are longer, it's easier for them to hold and gnaw on the end, right? An egg, if I were to boil this egg, then again, I would cut it into 4. These I would just leave as is because they're pretty mushy, and he could just easily pick those up and put them to his mouth. Apple, same thing. So you want pieces that are about as long as a finger, right? And about yay wide, right? Like easy to hang on to, and so they can suck and gnaw on it. Again, I've already mentioned this in the first video, but some people have asked about teeth and how is a baby with no teeth supposed to eat solid foods. And their gums are super, super strong, just like I was saying in that video. So teeth is not a necessity for eating solids. They will suck on it and get nutrition from that. They will bite off chunks with their gums, and they will do well. Okay, and so if you want to mash something up like an avocado, banana, you could just mash it up and give it to them, or you could mash something up and put it on one of like those little baby crackers or just a regular cracker. Again, like oranges and apples, I cut into like wedges. A tangerine you could peel, you could even give it to them whole like this and then just gnaw on it, or you could break off smaller pieces. So, there are charts, and I'll attach one that gives you an idea of how big to cut pieces, because some people say, oh, cut really tiny. That way it's easy, for them to pick up with their little fingers and put in their mouth and so on and so on. But generally, if you cut things a bit bigger, it makes it easier for them to hold and decreases the chance of them choking and allows them to bite off the amount that they want. But again, use your best judgment. If you have any questions about this, definitely ask your healthcare provider. Like I've mentioned before, I'm not a dietitian, so always speak to your healthcare provider. When it comes to things like peanut butter, the thought process used to be that you need to wait until a year because of allergies. And now we know that isn't true, and it is recommended to start allergen-specific food like peanut butter earlier, around 6 months. Now, that being said, if you have allergies in your family, you need to speak to the appropriate professional that's going to help you navigate this. So your dietitian, your doctor, because there will be a whole new set of ways to go about this if you do have a history of allergies. So please speak to your healthcare provider if you know someone in your family has allergies. When it comes to offering water, you can do an open-faced cup, or I have this, sometimes we do both. And just small amounts of water. So they still get an appropriate amount of water that's in your breast milk and formula, but complimentary water, small amounts, is definitely nice for them to practice while they are eating. So this is just an example of a few different foods and for the sizes that you would want to cut them. A few things that you would want to avoid are honey or corn syrup, because they can cause infant botulism, which is a type of food poisoning. So avoid using honey or corn syrup until at least a year. Milk, yogurt, cheese, those aren't really recommended until closer to 8 months. One thing I forgot to mention is that these are really popular. A lot of people do enjoy the purees. I'm not endorsing this brand by any means, but this is just an example. You can make your own baby food and you can put them into pouches, or you can buy them pre-made like this. And they offer all different kinds. They will give a recommendation for age on here because typically dairy isn't offered until closer to 8 months. And so ones that are made with like yogurt and things like that will say 8 months on them. So try to avoid dairy until closer to 8 months. That would include like cheese, yogurt, things like that. But yeah, these are handy for on the go. They're handy, you know, as complementary to baby led weaning. A lot of people are nervous to try baby led weaning, and they you know, do want to give some sort of puree. So this is definitely a nice option. Yeah, so again, just read the ingredients, make sure you do your research on which baby foods you want to give your baby. So with baby led weaning, you know, while there are some, you know, general rules to follow, you know, with terms of not, you know, giving them honey, things like that. When it comes to portion size, generally, you start small, you build it up bigger with their appetite, wide variety of foods. So there's no rules when it comes to what you're gonna give them. If you wanna start with, you know, a piece of steak, go for it. If you wanna start with raspberries, go for it. There's no rules on what you're gonna give. And I know a lot of parents are really stressed about this, like, well, what food do we give? How do we start? And then what? And how often do we start introducing new foods? And really, it's just, you know, follow your baby's lead. When it comes to allergies, some people do recommend that you wait about 3 days. Some literature says a week in between different foods so that you can rule out if there is an allergy. Or you could just give them what you're eating, and if they end up having a major issue, then you could deal with it then. So it's really up to you how you do that and how often you offer a different food. But if you want to go off of what the literature says, I say most of it says every 3 days you could offer a new food. It also says to offer like one ingredient type food. So kind of what I was showing you on the cutting board. Whereas like if, you know, some nights I give my little guy, let's say pasta, and there's peppers in there, mushrooms, onions, beef, sauce, noodles. There's all kinds of stuff. And so if you were to eat that and have a reaction, I wouldn't quite know what it was, but I'm content with going down that road and giving him what we're eating at dinner. So again, there's like no, you know, really specific rules when it comes to how much and when to start offering and what to offer first. You pick. And if your baby doesn't like something initially, that's okay. It could just be that they you know, it's new to them, right? They didn't like the texture initially, or they were just like, what was that? That did not taste like breast milk. The first time I gave Ellis a raspberry, he was like turned off, right? Because it was a bit sour, but now he does like raspberries. I waited a few days and then I offered him another raspberry. So hopefully that gives you guys a little bit of courage to just go and pick some foods. Make sure they're nice and healthy. And when it comes to the nutrition, remember, this is complimentary. It's not to replace calories of breast milk or formula. This is just complimentary. So sure, your baby may get a little bit chubby eating solids, and they're gonna love eating solids, but it's really about a developmental process. This is about them learning how to eat and learning to love to eat, so that when they are older and it is for nutrition, they've tried all kinds of food and they like all kinds of textures. Okay, so have confidence. Start with some healthy foods like this if you want, or you could start with whatever you're having for dinner tonight. Just make sure you start with small portions. Make sure you watch your baby when they eat. And again, do take note of the size of stuff. So if it's more comfortable for you to mash things, that's 100% your choice. But true baby-led weaning would be to just cut things in finger-like shapes, or just give them what you're having, like pasta, for example. When I give that to my son, he just gets A spoonful of noodles with a spoonful of sauce on it, and he goes wild. Okay, so that's about it.